So let's do some triads, yay. In this exercise, it's finding the root of each chord on the first string. I'll do it in an A, and then finding the fifth, and then the third. So from top to bottom, it's 1, 5, 3, and bottom to top, it's 3, 5, 1. Then we're gonna use our major minor pattern and our whole half pattern to move up the fretboard to reach the octave of A. Playing the triads or harmonizing Ionian with triads. And so one chord is 3, 5, 1. You also have to know your major minor shapes to pull this off, or know your Ionian scale really well. So we'll assume that it's knowing the shapes as a major triad shape. So a 2 chord from a 1 chord is a whole step and it's minor. Right, that would be a major third. We flat that third. The fifth and the root is still the same. From a 2 chord to a 3 chord is a whole step and it's minor. From 3 to 4 is a half step and it's major. From 4 to 5 is a whole step and it's major. From 5 to 6 is a whole step and it's minor. From 6 to 7 is a whole step and it's diminished. Flat 3, flat 5. And then to the root again. So we have and then you want to be able to descend using all of that same information. Of course, descending is harder because we memorize things moving forward instead of backwards. Should be just the opposite. So from when we reach the octave, when we get up here, we want to be able to go back down. And so we're on our 1 chord. From a 1 chord to a 7th chord is a half step below the root, right? And it's diminished. That's the diminished shape, because there's your flat 5 and your flat 3. Whoops. From 7 to 6 is a whole step and it's minor. From 6 to 5 is a whole step and it's major. From 5 to 4 is a whole step and it's major. From 4 to 3 is a half step and it's minor. 3 to 2 is a whole step and it's minor. 2 to 1 is a whole step and it's major. After you're able to don't worry about that yet. Just stay within the octave. I mean, when you're up here, you can have some fun up there if you want, but try to just stay within the octave to nail down Ionian harmonizing triads on the first 3 strings. Since the fifth is really unimportant harmonically, usually what guitar players do is they skip the fifth out of all of this and they just play the third and the root. Which is just fine and more common, and you'll get more mileage out of that. But you want to know that fifth is there, so that if it needs to be flatted, you know where it is and that kind of thing, or sharped. Augmented triad. But yeah, once you've got the dexterity and the knowledge and the know-how and the chops and all of that to play the third 5 and 1, toss the 5 and just play the third and root. And you can hear why, and you'll know why, because it's a lot more common to hear something like those kinds of 6th intervals. So do that, triads, first 3 strings, harmonizing Ionian scale. When you're good, drop the 5th. And play around with, just play around. eventually when I get into some scales, but have some fun with that, so you get a lot of mileage out of that. But do the academics of it and really make sure, really, if you want to make it hard, start the exercise by descending. I think I just did that wrong. Something like that. But yeah, descending was harder for me. And so, why am I playing 5 minor? So let me know if you have any questions on that. And for the meat and potatoes, playing around with the 1, 2 chord and 3 chord is one of the most common ways to use this concept. So you'll hear some tunes all of a sudden when you start playing around with these things. But first get the memorization of going up and back, and don't do as bad as I did on descending. And so practice descending. We'll add the other stuff, behind the octave and above the octave up here. But for now, just try to play within 1 octave, and then we'll go from there. See ya.